Hi, I'm C.C. Péan, and this is Reclaiming Your Health. Hello, everyone. Good evening, and welcome to Reclaiming Your Health. Apologies for starting a little late tonight. We were having some technical difficulties. It's so good to be here with you. I love being with you all every week. I love this time to come together and the conversations that I have with the few of you that engage, and the challenge every week to come up with something new for you all, or something that you kind of are familiar with, but like a different take on it. That's really fun. So thank you for giving me that challenge just by the fact of tuning in every week. This week, in preparation for Super Bowl Sunday, that is not this Sunday, but the following one, I thought for this week and next week, I would share with you some healthy Super Bowl snacks. Okay, so the two things we're going to work on tonight are a vegan buffalo chickpea dip and guacamole. So I call tonight dips, sticks, and chips. We've got the two dips, the buffalo vegan chickpea. We've got the guacamole. We have got dips. We've got some celery here, some beautiful carrots, some radishes. We've got some beautiful blue corn tortilla chips. And that's our dips, sticks, and chips. I'm sure I couldn't say that fast. Anyway, these are super simple dishes. Now, I am a California girl, so I love avocados and guacamole. I know some of you may not like it, so just feel free to just stick with the buffalo vegan chickpea dip. But we are going to be making some guacamole tonight, okay? And the secret to guacamole is fresh ingredients. A shortcut that I've heard in the past is if you want to make some guacamole and you have some avocados, but you don't have fresh tomatoes, you could just use salsa. I like to do it the old-fashioned way, and that is doing everything fresh. So the first thing that we're going to do this evening is we are going to make our buffalo chickpea dip. This dish is amazing because not only is it vegan and delicious, but it is chock full of protein and healthy fat. So it has cannellini beans that are basically white kidney beans. It has cashews in it. It has chickpeas in it. There is some plant milk in it. There's some nutritional yeast in it, which gives you your B12. I know some people are concerned about where they get their B12 from because that's typically found in meat protein. Nutritional yeast gives it to you, and we have that in this dish. So the recipe I shared with you called for vegan shredded cheddar, but I couldn't find that. Some things you just can't find like you used to. So what I used, and I love Violife, and I usually use that, but tonight I'm using Forager, and I'm using the Forager Monterey Jack and Queso Fresco for my buffalo vegan chickpea dip. So I want you to see how super easy this dip is, okay? This is literally one of these dump in a dish type dishes, okay? So a few things. You want to soak your nuts. You want to soak your cashews. Why do you want to soak your cashews? Well, it will make them a lot easier to blend, and they will come up a lot smoother. You can either soak them overnight, or what I do sometimes is I just get some boiling water and I pour it over the nuts and I let it sit for like the hour or 2 hours before, and it gets the same effect. Also, there are studies that show when you soak your nuts, you can remove up to 40% of the fat from it. If that's not a reason to soak some nuts, I don't know what is. So what we're going to do is we've got our 15-ounce can of cannellini beans. They're going to go in our food processor. We have got our 1/2 cup of plant milk that's going to go in there. We have got our tablespoon. Can you see that? We've got our tablespoon of nutritional yeast that's going to go in there. And in this little dish, we have a 1/2 teaspoon of onion powder. We have a 1/2 teaspoon of garlic powder. We have a teaspoon of salt, a 1/2 teaspoon of pepper, and we've got a teaspoon of smoked paprika, all in here. Just gonna pour that in here. Now, one thing you can do is omit the salt and add salt to taste if you want to later, because we are using Frank's Red Hot hot sauce for this, and it is a little bit salty. So you actually could forego it all together if you wanted to. So that is gonna go in here. This is 3/4 cup. You might wanna use a little less because this is spicy for those that don't like spice. And then we have got our cup of cashews that we have soaked for about 2 hours in hot water. And then we're going to do the juice from 1/2 of a lemon. I'm going to do this directly over. The juice is going to go right in there. You want to use fresh juice. You don't want to use bottled or prepared lemon juice because it has preservatives and flavor is always a little funky to me. Okay, so that's it. What we're going to do now is we are just going to, once I get this closed, what is going on? Okay, here we go. And we're just going to let this run until it gets kind of smooth. We don't want it like super, super smooth. We still want a little bit of texture. So I'm just going to watch it. Okay. That actually looks pretty. What's great about this recipe is that, like I said, it's super easy. You can make it when you know your guests are coming. 30 minutes before they come, you can pop it in the oven, and then you have a nice hot dip. Now, there are some of these dips that you don't have to bake. You don't have to put it in the oven, but I like this one because it just comes together really nice with the cheese and stuff that we're going to put in it. So the next thing we're going to do, I'm going to prepare my dish. I'm going to use a little bit of oil spray. Okay, we're going to set this aside. And we have chickpeas that we're adding. So we're getting even more protein and a bit of texture. Now, I've looked at some recipes that are similar to this, and they say just put the whole chickpeas in there. I don't like that. I want to mush them up a little bit because I want to get that texture throughout. And I also want the flavor of this mixture to come together with the chickpeas. And if they're whole, it's not going to get in there. So what I like to do, I'll take just maybe half of this can, and I'm going to take my masher and I'm just going to press down. Just going to press down on this. As you make this, you will determine if you want a little or a lot. And you can leave some of them whole, of course, but like I said, I like the texture. Okay. So let's see how this all comes together. So now I'm just going to simply put this mixture in my oiled dish. Are you all able to see that? I think some of my things might be in the way. Let's move all this pretty stuff out the way. I'm gonna get some of it off the blade here. Okay. And then we'll just get the rest. Let's come in here. All righty. So now what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna add in some of that crushed chickpea. We're adding not only more protein, but we're adding texture. This. Just gonna mix it together. And now I'm going to use some of my cheese. So I have some Monterey Jack. I'm gonna take like a handful of that, drop it there. And I'm gonna take another handful, which is gonna equal about a half a cup of the queso fresco, which is amazing. And I have to tell you, I'm so excited about these new plant-based cheeses. I remember there was a time where if somebody mentioned plant-based cheese, you just walked the other way because it didn't remotely taste like cheese. It was more like colored plastic, like you were chewing on colored plastic. But they've come a long way with plant-based cheeses. Okay, so we're just mixing this up. And I guess another way you could do this is you could do this in a bowl and then transfer it into the greased pan or the oiled pan. So this is well mixed. And this now goes into the oven for 30 minutes at between 350 and 375. You've got to know your oven. Mine is a little intense, so I'm doing it mine for 350. I will be right back. Okay, so that is done, and now we're going to do our guacamole. So I have a love affair with guacamole. I have a love affair with avocado. It is fat, but it is healthy fat. It's like nature's butter, what some people call it. And I understand to some people it doesn't have much flavor, but it is the kind of thing that when you work with it, when you work with avocados, they really come to life. So what we're gonna do, we've got our 2 avocados here. One thing you should know if you're trying to figure out if an avocado is ripe, and you take the seed, this little, at the top of the avocado, and you can look in there. I have my glasses on and I am nearsighted, so I can't see it clearly, but it should be kind of like a warm green color. And when you see that warm green color, that lets you know that it's ripe. So you can feel it. It's gonna give a little bit, but that's another way to check, is to look right in there. If it's super bright green and it's a little tough, like a little hard, don't waste your time. But these feel just right. I like to always do mine on the board. Look at that. These avocados are absolutely perfect. Oh, thank you, Shauna. She's saying she loves the cheeses and the vegan mayo, veggie. So this is a perfect avocado. We've got one. Whatever you do not cut these in your hand. It's always, you can always hurt yourself. So here's another perfect avocado. So between looking at the where the basically like the stem of the avocado, looking for the color there, and then feeling it, seeing that it gives a little bit. That's a way for you to get the perfect avocado. So now we're just going to scoop this out into the bowl. Beautiful. There's so many funny memes about avocados that they're perfectly ripe 1 minute and then like minute two, they're brown and ugly. They are definitely best fresh. And I'm going to give you a little trick on how to keep your guacamole nice and green and bright. It's not something that can last for days, but at least through the day, you can have a little more shelf life with your guac when you follow the directions I'm going to share with you. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to take my fork, just press down. Let me do that up here. Just going to press down on my avocado. I like a chunky guacamole. I don't like a super smooth one. There are people that have actually put their avocado in a food processor and then add the other items, the other ingredients, but I don't like that. I like a real chunky, hearty guacamole. So just going with my fork here, just kind of breaking it up a bit. You could also use a potato masher with this. That would be a great use of it as well. Okay, so now let's go to our other ingredients. So we have got tomato, we've got cilantro, we've got onion, we've got jalapeno, we've got lime, okay? And then right here, you see we have salt and pepper and cumin. I love cumin. It's really interesting. I've read that a lot of people who like Indian food actually like Mexican food as well, because there's a lot of the same seasonings. Isn't that interesting? So coriander slash cilantro, cumin, all kinds of roasted peppers and chilies and things like that are in both cuisines. So there's a lot of overlap. I think that's really interesting. And those are actually two of my favorite cuisines as well. So the cilantro or coriander leaves, we use these because they give an earthiness and a lemony brightness to our guacamole. The cumin has a warmth to it. So you've got the two different dimensions. You've got the warm, kind of comforting, and you've got the lively, bright. Now, I know some people can't do cilantro, and I feel sorry for you because it is the perfect ingredient to go into guac. So what I'm going to do, I've already rinsed this off. I'm just going to chop up a good amount of this. Put this over here. I'm going to go through it with my knife. I don't want it minced really, but you know, you've heard me say that I like a bite of everything when I taste things, when I make things. So like with my guacamole, I want to be able to have a bite of the cilantro, the jalapeno, the onion, and the tomato in every bite. So I have to chop this up, but I'm not going to like super chop it up, like mince it. Okay. So that's going to go directly in the bowl. We're going to do a little bit of jalapeno. So what you have to remember about the jalapeno, unless you like super hot things, is you've got to take out the vein and the seeds. I have been told, I don't know if this is true, but that each seed is like eating a whole pepper. We don't want that. So that's coming out. That is coming out. And what I like to do when I use pepper is I do like to mince it super, super fine, because that's something you don't want a big chunk of. this actually may be enough for the bowl. And of course, you can omit this if you want to. You could always use red pepper flakes in place of this. So we're just mincing this up nice and fine. All right, so now that is going directly into our bowl. What's next? Our tomato. And the reason I say to de-seed your tomato is because the seeds can make your guacamole super runny. So I get rid of them because I don't like runny guacamole. It's easy enough to get rid of it. So this is what it looks like. You look forward. So I've taken the seeds out, all the wet stuff, and now okay, got this. Okay. This is sufficiently chopped. These don't need to be super fine either. Or we want it to be a little chunky. Rinse my hand. And so then we're going to use some of our red onion. And again, there are no absolutes with this recipe. You kind of, fix it to your liking. Some people like a whole bunch of onion. Some people don't like onion at all. I like red onion. Some people use white onion. Okay, so I've sliced that pretty thinly, and now I'm going to go here and finely chop it. This is something that you don't want big pieces of either. So the jalapeno and your onions are what you're going to cut the finest. And if you look at my knife, you look up front, that's pretty fine. And that's going directly into our bowl. Cut up a little more. Gonna go in there. Excess. Okay. Next thing we're going to do is we're going to cut our lime. We're going to squeeze some fresh lime juice in here. So not only does this add some brightness to it, but it also helps it from turning brown. Okay, so I like to squeeze the juice of like half of the lime. I don't want to overdo it because you don't want it to be too tangy. You want just a touch of that brightness. And here we come with our warmth, which is our cumin. And I would say this is about a half a teaspoon. You don't want to do too much. If you use too much cumin, you can ruin the dish. Gonna do a couple twists of my salt. And the same with my black pepper. Okay, let's mix it all up. So we're gonna kind of like mash and mix because we want to make sure that it gets real good and blended. This looks so good. And as we're talking about dips, sticks, and chips, you know, you don't have to eat this with chips. You can do it with carrots. You can do it with wassa bread. I love wassa. Wassa has this really great crisp and light. Or you can have 3 pieces for like 45 calories, and it's got fiber, so that's great for you, but it's not fattening at all. So I think this is pretty well mixed. Let's see if I need any more. That's actually pretty tasty. And I just hear that we have a minute left for our dip. All right. So let's clear this out the way. We're going to transfer our delicious guacamole to a serving dish. You always want to have a beautiful bowl. Hey, this is a nice thing to set out for Super Bowl Sunday. You know, if you do the fish tacos that we did from last week, our banana blossom fish tacos, this would be great on the taco bar, the same guac. Okay. So we've got our guac. Move all these things out the way. Grab our buffalo chickpea dip. Wow, this looks yummy. This looks really good, y'all, and it smells even better. So let's see, you know I have to zhuzh it up. I can't leave it just like this. So what do we have to zhuzh it up? So we've got some scallions that we're gonna put on the top of it. Some microgreens that are gonna go on top of this. Obviously, these are both optional, but they are beautiful. If you wanted to, you could go on this and you could pretty it up a little bit with some more smoked paprika across the top. Smooth these out the way. Let's move this up. And I'm gonna have to use my gloves to lift this up. But this is, can we see straight on? This is our vegan buffalo chickpea dish. And I have some celery, some carrots, some radishes, and some chips. And I'm gonna use a chip and try it. Ooh, and it go, you see how easily it gets in there? This is a little warm, so. This is good. And let me tell you, woo, a little spicy, but let me tell you, the fact that I did not use a vegan cheddar does not affect the flavor at all. The cheddar, the cheese that you're putting in here, it does add a flavor, but I think it's more for gooiness more than for the flavor. This is delicious. Folk, you saw how easy it was to do. I would challenge you to make this for Super Bowl Sunday. Don't even tell people that it's vegan. Don't tell them what it is. Just make it, put it out, and once they've devoured it, then you tell them. This is really good. Now, I'm gonna taste my guacamole. Good stuff, people. Easy, tasty, most importantly, healthy. Thank you for joining me on Reclaiming Your Health. We'll see you next week. We're going to add a few more dishes to our Super Bowl Sunday spread. So you've got two, actually you've got three, because you've got the banana blossom tacos for last week. You've got guacamole and crudité this week, and you've got a vegan buffalo chickpea dip. Thanks for joining me. See you all next week. Bye-bye.